In a heartfelt national address, President Tinubu addressed Nigerians on the ongoing nationwide protests. Now, President Tinubu, in his Sunday morning speech, recognized the young protesters' desire for a better Nigeria, but lamented the loss of lives in Borno, Jigawa, Kano, and Kaduna, along with the destruction of public facilities and looting. He urged protesters to suspend further actions and embrace dialogue, stressing the need for unity and cooperation to rebuild the nation. The president reaffirmed his commitment to maintaining public order and protection of lives and properties, emphasizing that the government will not allow political agendas to disrupt the nation. Highlighting economic reforms, he mentioned progress in revenue growth and infrastructure projects. He encouraged youth engagement through initiatives like the Student Loan Scheme and Consumer Credit Corporation. Now, the president called for collective efforts to build a brighter future, ensuring visible and tangible results of good governance. He urged security forces to maintain peace responsibly, emphasizing the paramount importance of the safety and security of all Nigerians.
My dear Nigerians, especially our youths, I have heard you loud and clear. I understand the pain and the frustration that drive these protests. And I want to assure you that our government is committed to listening and addressing the concerns of our citizens. But we must not let violence and destruction tear our nation apart. Just over a year ago, our dear country, Nigeria, reached a point where we couldn't afford to continue the use of temporary solutions to solve long-term problems for the sake of now and our unborn generations. I therefore took the painful yet necessary decision to remove fuel subsidy and abolish multiple foreign exchange systems. These decisions are made were necessary if we must reverse the decades of economic mismanagement that didn't serve us well. Yes, I agree, the buck stops on my table, but I can assure you that I am focused fully on delivering the governance to the people. In conclusion, security operatives should continue to maintain peace, law, and order in our country, following the necessary Convention on Human Rights, to which Nigeria is a signatory. The safety and security of all Nigerians are paramount.
As the protests in Nigeria over rising hunger continues to escalate, President Bola Tinubu gave his highly anticipated address to the nation on Sunday, with protesters taking to the streets for the fourth day, demanding action on the crippling hardship in the nation. Will the president's words be enough to calm the storm, or will the people press on with their demands? News Central's Adechewa Odushoga reports.
A speech that was indeed very much anticipated by the majority of Nigerians, especially one whose frustration has led them to hit the street, protesting against bad governance and hunger. In a somber tone, President Bola Tinubu commiserated with those who have lost loved ones and livelihoods, urging protesters to stand down and engage in dialogue.
The destruction of properties set us back as a nation, as scarce resources will be again used to restore them. I commiserate with the families and relations of those who have died and the protests.
The president highlighted his administration's key achievement over the past 14 months, including stabilizing the economy after years of stagnation. He defended his controversial decision to remove fuel subsidy, a move intended to revamp the economy.
Aggregate government revenue has more than doubled, hitting over 9.1 trillion naira in the first half of 2024, coming from a place where our country spent 97% of all our revenue on debt service. We have been able to reduce that to 68% last month. We increased our oil production to 1.61 million barrels per day.
However, many Nigerians remain unimpressed, feeling that the president's response fails to confront the root issue of hunger.
The president has an unusual understanding of his policies, and he seems to assume that the policies are going to be yielding results.
I guess for me, it kind of stops short of letting us know clearly what the policy targets are. I mean, what are you trying to drive at?
As the country reacts to the president's speech, protesters continue to demand concrete action to address the hunger crisis. Despite his pleas for calm, many citizens remain resolute, taking to the streets for the fourth consecutive day. The president's words may have been a step towards reconciliation, but for many Nigerians, they fall short of the decisive action needed to address the hunger crisis. As the situation unfolds, one thing is clear: the streets will continue to demand justice until the government takes tangible steps to alleviate the suffering. In Lagos, for News Central, Adeshewa Odushoga.
Thank you, Adeshewa, for that report. Now, let's also tell you that President Bola Tinubu's Sunday morning broadcast has elicited mixed reactions among protesters in Lagos. While some insist that nationwide demonstrations will continue, others believe the protests should be suspended following the president's appeal. One protester, identified as Barrister JP, urged his fellow demonstrators at the Ojota protest ground to suspend the protest and create room for dialogue with government. All right, now we have a guest to discuss this. More on this, we're joined by Elvis Akpobi, Executive Director, Not Too Young to Lead Initiative. He's sharing his thoughts on the people protesting to get good governance. Hello, Elvis. Thank you so much for joining us on the news.
Hello, thank you for having me.
All right, so first of all, let's begin by, finding out your reaction on the protest itself from day one up until day 4. Can you please go ahead and share with us, your thoughts on everything that has transpired, briefly during the protest?
Quote a friend of mine, Hamzat Lawa, he said in one of his platforms, he said, Nigerians have been protesting for a very long time in their minds. What started what started August 1st was just physical protest. You agree with me if you've been in this country that prices of things skyrocketed, the decline in value of the naira to the dollars. All these are the result of wrong policies of the government. And one thing I'm not too comfortable about is the continuous excuses being given by the present government. Like I've always said in every platform I find myself, they were not elected, they were not trusted governors with votes to come and give excuses. They already knew the problems we had, and he promised he was going to solve the problem. But solving the problems now seems as if it's becoming too difficult. If I want to take a clue from what the broadcast the president did this morning, he talked about he knows that the protest is the right of citizens in a democratic governance. He knows that young people are clamoring for a better future, a Nigeria where they can live their dreams. All he appealed for is a peaceful protest, which I will still urge young people who are protesting for a peaceful protest. But the thing is, we are tired of speech being read. We want things being done. And like I've always said, the government at all levels need to invest in peace. And investing in peace means investing in young people, creating an enabling environment where young people can live their dream, where they don't need to know anybody to get what they want. If they merit it, they will get it. Where they will have equal opportunities at the feet where dividends of democracy is being shared.
All right, Elvis, but do you think that since you have, an idea of what the president's address is all about, do you think that this address, adequately addresses the concerns and the demands of the protesters?
To an extent, it does, but you think to make progress, we need to build trust. Do you think the Nigerian citizens, which has a higher youth demographic, do you think they trust the president? Do you think they trust the government in power? If they do, that's only when they will stop this protest. Because if they don't, they will continue with this protest. So government at all levels must learn to build trust. Building trust is not just coming to on TV to make speeches. If you say you just walk the talk, that's what Nigerians are looking out for. Make policies that will not make them escape this country to become second-class citizens in other countries. Make policies where their potential, the currency of our generation today is on the potentials of young Nigerians, which are waiting to be tapped and harnessed because we don't have good policies to tap and harness these potentials. And one way or the other is affecting our growth, our economic growth. If you grow young people, if you harness the potentials of young people, our economic growth will increase. The president should know that.
Okay, the reason why I actually asked that was because, I've heard a few people and most Nigerians actually say that most times the president's speeches or addresses doesn't really resonate or connect with the Nigerian citizens themselves. So, with everything, we have some people who are saying that, oh, he did really, really well with this particular address. Some complaining that it was recorded, so he didn't really put much thought to it. It's possible that, he just decided to come out to douse the tension and see if, the protest will stop and all that. So what I'm asking is, does the address actually show a genuine understanding of the struggles and the pain points of, the masses?
It does, but do we trust him? Do you think the masses trust him? For me, as a person, I'll speak for myself. I'm not sure the young people trust the presidency per se, because oftentimes we'll notice that they went to bed as soon as they clinched into power. Let's not forget, too, that we've been hearing on inspiring words from a supposed Senate president who was quoted as saying that he will be in his home eating while young Nigerians are protesting. But he seems to forget that the future of his children is not just what he put in his children, but in the environment his children will stay with. Even if they go abroad, they will still come back to Nigeria someday. Until every privileged leader, until everybody who contracted governance with our vote start making Nigeria habitable, I doubt if Nigeria will be peaceful. Okay. Because taxpayers' money are being used for what is not meant to be done.
Okay. Now, talking about taxpayers' money, can you hear me, Elvis? Now, one of the things that the president actually talked about was, approving the 70,000 naira minimum wage, for workers in Nigeria. Now, a lot of people are actually asking how this national minimum wage is expected to, impact other people, like the elderly, the artisans, unemployed, entrepreneurs, and even traders themselves.
It's a thought in the right direction, but it's impacting the common man. I don't see how possible it is. What I think will make, to an extent, will yield result is the pump price of petroleum, curbing insecurity in Nigeria at the moment, give us good road network. Because, it's become very, very difficult traveling from here to Lagos or traveling from Asaba to Abuja. You don't know if you'll get to your destination. And that's because of the high rate of insecurity. And today they've appointed a lot of IG, of service chief. I don't know if it's English they are speaking or they are doing their work. In as much as I think they are doing their work, they need to do more. So if we get all these things done, that 70,000 naira minimum wage is okay. But if they are not done, for me, it's like pouring water into a basket. We'll still get to back to where we are.
Okay, so if the 70,000 naira is okay, every other initiative that the president has actually, listed in his address, if it is effected, would also be okay to move Nigeria forward. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it will be okay.
Okay. Now, but just before we wrap up, would you say that we actually have seen this address? We saw that the address actually came up around 7, and we still see people, on the streets protesting. Why do you think that the address has not yet, doused the tensions? Why do you think people still want to, go on with the protest?
I said it before now that to make progress, we must build trust. In Nigeria, citizens don't trust the presidency at the moment because we've seen, let me ask you, there was a case where a particular minister, I don't want to mention her name, was involved in fraud, was suspended, taxpayer money. As the presidency come back, what happened? What's the penalty for such corruption? We've not seen issues like that. So Nigerian citizens, they don't have trust in the presidency at the moment. That's why you see that there's still continuation of the protest. To make progress, we must build trust. And if you don't build trust, you can't make progress. That's why we are where we are at the moment.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Elvis, for speaking to us on this.
Thank you for having me.
All right. With that, we'll go on a quick break. And when we come back, the news continues. Stay with us. Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka has said that President Bola Tinubu's nationwide address on Sunday failed to address the attacks on end bad governance protesters to security agencies. Professor Wole Soyinka made the observation in a statement on Sunday following Tinubu's address to the nation. Soyinka said in listening to the address, his major concern was the continuing failure of government in protest management, and he condemned the use of tear gas and live bullets by security forces, saying such entrenches a seemingly unbreakable cycle of resentment and reprisals. According to Professor Soyinka, hunger marches constitute a universal SOS not peculiar to the Nigeria and serve as summons to governance that a breaking point has been reached. He added that the tragic response to the ongoing hunger marches in parts of the nation, and for which notice was served, constitutes a retrogression that takes the nation even further back than the deadly culmination of the watershed EndSARS protests. A church service has commenced at the Just protest ground, Old Airport Roundabout, with Muslims in attendance. The peaceful protest began Sunday morning with prayers, words of exaltation, and songs of adoration. News Central's Chizoba Nyongwe reports from Jos that Prophet Isa El-Buba, the leader of the protest, led the service at the protest ground. He expressed hope that God's blessings will manifest in the country and that a new Nigeria will emerge sooner rather than later.
What the pain that we're just hearing, the trials, the tribulations that Nigerians are going through, that is short of the glory of God. We have seen that no man can save himself. Sin can only be handled by God.
Gunmen have reportedly killed the President General of Umocheke Autonomous Community, Unuimo, local government area of Imo State, Chief Hygienist Ohazorike. Now, they also killed 6 other leaders of the community. A source in the community who pleaded anonymity said the community leaders were having a meeting at the President General's shop when the attackers came. According to him, the gunmen who stormed the area in a vehicle shot the 7 persons in the meeting and set the place ablaze. As at the time of this report, the motive for the attack remains unclear. Still talking news in West Africa, the head of Niger's military-run government has accused France of wanting to destabilize the country. This allegation is coming 7 months after driving out French soldiers engaged in the fight against terrorism. Since seizing power on July 26th last year, the new government, led by General Abdurrahman Chiani, former head of the Presidential Guard, has reset its international partnerships. It also asked former colonial power France late last year to withdraw its troops stationed in the Sahel nation to fight jihadist groups.
Un agent de renseignement français, un ancien de la DGSE, un certain Vincent Crouzet, qui est sorti pour dire ouvertement que c'est l'occasion, après le retrait de leurs forces, après le départ de Sylvain Ité, de déstabiliser le Niger par des actions clandestines. Donc cette volonté maladive de déstabiliser le Niger s'est propagée à travers le repositionnement de tous les agents de la DGSE française que nous avons chassés de notre territoire. Ils sont repositionnés au Bénin, je le dis et je le répète, ils sont repositionnés.
South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa said the ANC was fully aware of the risks and opportunities that lie ahead with the government of unity. Despite concerns about its stability, Ramaphosa said the government of national unity would be able to advance the interests of South Africans. He said the ANC will now also turn its focus on the party's future and how it can better itself. Speaking at the ANC National Executive Committee, Legotla in Boksburg on Sunday, Ramaphosa praised the party for its maturity and humility following its dismal election performance. Police have rescued 90 undocumented Ethiopian nationals who were allegedly being kept against their will in Sunnydale Ridge in Johannesburg. Police made the discovery while tracing a victim of a kidnapping for ransom in Benoni, east of Johannesburg. The Ethiopian nationals include the kidnapped victim, who has since been rescued. The National Police spokesperson at Lendamati said the undocumented nationals were being kept under inhuman conditions. Let's also give you an update on the United Kingdom protests, where British police have detained a number of protesters in Nottingham as far-right activists clashed with a counter-racism gathering. Now, this is as unrest tied to misinformation about a mass stabbing that killed 3 young girls spread throughout the UK. The clashes mark the 4th day of unrest in several towns and cities following last Monday's frenzied knife attack in Southport near Liverpool on England's northwest coast. The violence, which has seen scores of arrests across England and put Britain's Muslim community on edge, presents the biggest challenge yet of Labour Prime Minister Keir Starmer's month-old premiership.
People are fed up. This is the straw that broke the camel's back. This is a culmination of two-tier policing gone wrong. People are fed up of being told you should be ashamed if you're white and working class. Well, I'm proud white working class. Nadia Whittome, the MP, said that people that were coming out today to show support for England were far-right fascists. I'm not a far-right fascist, I'm a patriot. And I believe in free speech. And I'm sick of people like her telling us that white working class people are fascist, because we want to see an end to people coming over illegally on boats from...
Now, in the world of sports, Nigerian sprinter Favour Ofili ran her fastest outdoor time in 2 years to qualify for the women's 200 meters semi-final at the Paris Olympics at the second fastest overall, with the season's best of 22.24 seconds. The Nigerian was seeded in the final heat in lane 2, competing alongside European champion Dina Asher-Smith and African champion Gina Baz. Ofili started strong and cruised to victory in 22.24 seconds despite easing up in the last few meters. Meanwhile, Britain's Dina Asher-Smith finished a close second in 22.28 seconds, while Gambia's Gina Bars came third in 22.84 seconds. Former Olympic champion Carolina Marin has withdrawn from her badminton semi-final due to a right knee injury. At the time of her retirement, the Spaniard was leading against China's Bing Jiaohe. Now, in the second game, the Spaniard right knee buckled as she landed on an overhead smash and she immediately collapsed to the floor. The 31-year-old suffered a serious injury to the same knee in 2019 and an even more serious injury to her left knee 2 years later. The Spaniard, under the supervision of the medical staff and in consultation with her coach, Fernando Rivas, decided to play on with a right knee brace, but she was completely immobilized and required 3 consecutive stitches before collapsing on the ground in tears and agreeing to retire. Meanwhile, Bing Jiao progressed to the final, where she will play South Korean world #1 An She-young. She-young beat Indonesia's Gregoria Mariska Tunjung in the day's earlier semi-final. Paris Olympics organizers have cancelled Sunday's swimming training session for the triathlon mixed relay event after recent heavy rain affected water quality levels in the Seine River. The decision was made late on Saturday after tests showed water quality did not meet the required threshold following rain on July 31st and August 1. The mixed relay race event is scheduled for Monday. Pollution in the Seine after heavy rains had caused the men's race to be postponed for a day after swimming practice sessions were cancelled 2 days in a row. And that's all at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of our top stories. We told you that President Tinubu addressed the nation, urges demonstrators to suspend anti-hunger protests and embrace dialogue. We also told you that as protests rock other parts of the nation, gunmen in Imo State attack and kill 7 community leaders. Finally, you heard that Niger's military leader accuses France of plans to destabilize his country. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Dashen. Usman.